of Africa. The face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome. Today's leading stories feature Algeria's ending its UN Security Council term and Kakuta achieving a milestone with a brace for DR Congo at AFCON, the first since Bakongo. I'm Samir Mohammed and this is Pulse of Africa News. Let's get started with Algeria. As Algeria concluded its term on the United Nations Security Council, Ambassador Amar Benjama, Algeria's permanent representative to the UN, has affirmed the nation has fulfilled its responsibilities. Algeria's team on the Security Council officially ends on December 31st, 2025. In a statement released, Ambassador Benjama emphasized the international community's crucial role in addressing global hotspots and preventing the escalation of conflicts through just and sustainable political solutions. The ambassador highlighted Algeria's active engagement in addressing key issues on the Security Council's agenda, including conflicts in Africa, the Middle East, and other regions. He underscored the importance of finding comprehensive solutions that address the root causes of instability and promote long-term peace and development. He is particularly grateful for the support that non-African countries provide in advancing African causes on the Security Council.
Now, it would be remiss of me to end without paying tribute to my A3+ colleagues. In particular, I'd like to pay tribute to the colleagues coming from a non-African country, colleagues which nonetheless held on throughout the mandate and committed themselves to staunchly defending African causes here on this council.
The challenges facing the world today are complex and multifaceted, Ambassador Benjama noted. It's imperative that the international community works together in a spirit of cooperation and solidarity to overcome these challenges and build a more just and peaceful world for all.
Algeria is preparing to leave the Council with a feeling of having accomplished its duty. I would like to tell my colleagues, elected members of this council, but my message also goes out to those who will be coming onto the council. My message is this: persevere. Persevere and always attempt to work together with all council members, permanent members and elected members alike. And all this in the pursuit of our common objective. It might be a weakness, but I do believe it. Our objective being the preservation of international peace and security. And I would also like to add that this is something that's particularly pertinent for elected members.
Ivory Coast has signed a major bilateral health agreement with the United States aimed at strengthening the country's health system and improving its capacity to prevent and respond to disease. The deal, valued at $487 million, focuses on boosting disease detection systems and expanding health services to combat HIV/AIDS, malaria, and tuberculosis. Ivorian Prime Minister Biogrim Mambi said the agreement aligns with the United States' new global health strategy, which emphasizes stronger national ownership of health priorities. Speaking at a signing ceremony, Mambi said the partnership encourages countries countries to mobilize domestic resources while working with international partners to address critical health challenges. U.S. Ambassador to Ivory Coast Jessica Davis-Ba highlighted the broader scope of the partnership, stressing the importance of long-term cooperation. She said progress in health must go hand in hand with investment in energy and infrastructure, describing collaboration as central to the shared vision for the future.
New roads, hotels, and services are welcoming visitors to Ethiopia's historic sites and natural wonders. Tourism creates jobs and celebrates our culture. Investing in visitors invests in our future.
The Zambia Agency for Persons with Disabilities has welcomed to passage of Consultation Amendment Bill 7, describing it as a historic milestone that will enhance the inclusion of persons with disabilities in national governance. ZAPD Director General Frank Musukwa says the amendment addresses decades of exclusion by providing for 5 reserved seats for persons with disabilities in the National Assembly, thereby strengthening participation, self-representation, and visibility in Parliament. Musukwa noted that for more than 60 years, persons with disability had no direct representation in national decision-making, adding that Bill 7 demonstrates the government's commitment to inclusive governance and the redress of historical marginalization. He has since commended President Hakainde Hichilema and parliamentarians for championing reforms that promote equality and non-discrimination, citing continued appointments of persons with disabilities to public leadership positions since 2021 as evidence of this commitment. Mr. Musukwa has also praised disability advocates, organization of persons with disabilities, and cooperating partners for sustained advocacy that contributed to the passage of the amendment. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni inaugurated 2 major industrial projects in Luwero district, underscoring his government's commitment to advancing Uganda's agro-industrialization, value addition, and clean energy initiative. The facilities, Pro Industries ethanol and extra natural alcohol plants and Victoria Sugar Limited state-of-the-art factory represent a significant leap toward transforming Uganda's industrial sector. The president commended the $100 million investment in the Pro Industries plant located in Bulungi village. With a daily production capacity of 120,000 liters of ENA and 35,000 liters of ethanol, this plant is poised to become the largest of its kind in East Africa. As Victoria Sugar Limited, President Museveni acknowledged the company's significant contribution to Uganda's industrial growth, wealth creation, and energy security. The Victoria Group, which employs over 8,000 Ugandans and support the livelihoods of more than 9,000 individuals, also generates 50 megawatts of clean power, helping to ensure a reliable and sustainable energy source for the region. President Museveni hailed the project for their role in strengthening Uganda's economic development, creating jobs, and reducing the country's reliance on imported fuels. Africa's health priorities must remain central to global health financing in partnership. Africa CDC Deputy Director General Dr. Raji Tajuddin has said, calling for a fundamental shift in how global health initiatives operate across the continent. In an exclusive interview with Pulse of Africa, Dr. Raji acknowledged that initiatives such as the Global Fund, Gavi, and the Global Financing Facility have played a significant role in supporting African countries. However, he noted that their support has often been shaped by donor-driven priorities rather than specific needs of member states.
So what Lusaka Agenda wants to do is to ensure that our member state priorities remain the center of whatever support that is coming, and also for the global health initiatives to align around 5 key shifts. And these shifts include health financing, in such a way that domestic resources, for health becomes the main source of financing health. In addition to that, innovative financing and blended financing. We're also looking at primary health care. Lusaka Agenda wants to see a primary health care that is sustainably financed, that is epidemic ready and climate resilient. We also want to see local manufacturing of health products, vaccines, therapeutic, diagnostics, in such a way that our local manufacturers become where member states go and procure their needs.
The Lusaka Agenda was launched on Universal Health Coverage Day, 12th of December 2023, as a continental framework to guide coordinated action towards sustainably and domestically financed health systems and universal access to healthcare in Africa. It was officially endorsed by the African Union Heads of States and Government in February 2024. Dr. Raji said the agenda addresses long-standing challenges in Africa's engagement with the global health system, including fragmented and siloed support from international institutions.
Number one is to reform the global health architecture, because we have seen what is happening in terms of development assistance, the official development assistance. We've seen what is happening in terms of debt servicing obligations of our member states that is really and truly on the increase. We have seen so many fragmented and silo approach in terms of support coming from the global health institutions, when it comes to supporting Africa. So we really need to reform the global health architecture in such a way that the national priorities, our member state priorities, become the rallying point of whatever support. And the coordination of that should be at the continental level by Africa CDC.
Moving on to business headlines. China Prime Minister Alamai Halina has renewed pressure on telecom operators to improve service quality, citing persistent shortcomings that continue to affect consumers. The issue dominated a sector review meeting on telecommunications and the digital economy chaired by Halina on Monday. Despite efforts made, gaps remain, particularly in service quality, the Prime Minister said, pointing to recurring service disruptions and stressing that citizens judge performance based on the service they receive. Halina also flagged the limited rollout of fiber optic infrastructure, especially in the north and south of the country, and called for stricter quality control. The new pressure comes amid persistent consumer complaints over dropped calls, slow internet speeds, frequent outages, and patching into coverage nationwide. Chad's access to international connectivity remains limited, with the landlocked country relying on a single access point via Cameroon. Authorities are working on alternative links to Niger, Nigeria, Algeria, Libya, and Egypt, among others. South African drug maker Aspen Pharmacare said on Monday it would sell most of its Asia-Pacific businesses, excluding China, for about $1.6 billion as a part of a strategy to cut debt and strengthen its balance sheet. The asset will be acquired by Australian private equity firm BGH Capital for a $2.37 billion, Aspen said. The divestment covers operation in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Malaysia, and the Philippines, as well as its long-standing subsidiaries in Australia and New Zealand, which marked Aspen's first expansion outside South Africa. Aspen said the Asia-Pacific region accounted for 18% of group revenue and 26% of core operating profit in the financial year ended June 30, 2025. The company said it had not originally planned a scale, but reconsidered after receiving an unsolicited offer it considered attractive. The sale will allow Aspen to focus on priority segments, including the production of GLP-1 based drugs, which are in high demand for treatment of diabetes and obesity. Time to turn our attention to the AFCON tournaments. Gael Kakuta has etched his name into DR Congo's Africa Cup of Nations history, becoming the first Congolese player to score a brace at the tournament since Cedric Bakumbu last achieved defeat against Zimbabwe in June 2019. In a competition where moments are often fleeting, Kakuta delivered one that resonated with both history and expectation. The performance was a reminder of Kakuta's enduring quality on the continental stage, calm in execution and sharp in decision-making. He led from the front, shouldering responsibility and turning pressure into purpose. His two goals not only powered DR Congo forward, but also ended a long wait for a milestone that had eluded the nation for several AFCON editions. Bakumbu's brace years ago had stood as a reference point for attacking excellence from DR Congo. Kakuta now joins the conversation, offering a symbolic bridge between generations and reaffirming the country's attacking pedigree. It was a night that spoke of belief returning and standards being reasserted. Let's take a look at the weather forecast across Africa. That's all for this hour. Before I conclude, I would like to invite you to watch our weekly program, Pulse of Africa in Depth, which is coming up next. Thank you for tuning in, and goodbye.
As the year 2025 draws to a close and 2026 prepares to dawn, we pause to reflect on the journey of the past 12 months. Around the world, history has unfolded in remarkable ways, and Africa has been no exception. From triumph in innovation and diplomacy to challenge in peace and security, the continent has lived through a year of resilience and transformation. Tonight, we invite you to join us for a brief yet a powerful glimpse into Africa's story over the past year. Stay tuned. In 2025, Africa witnessed historic political and economic milestones that underscored its growing influence on the global stage. The 38th African Union Summit held in February launched the AU's theme of the year, Justice for Africa and Peoples of African Descent through Reparations. Head of State and Government emphasized the urgent need to address inequality and discrimination through reforms. The summit also highlighted the importance of international accountability, urging global institutions to hold former colonial powers responsible. The summit stressed community empowerment and grassroots-led initiatives to ensure reparative justice. Continued advocacy through coalitions, campaigns, and public forums was identified as an essential to maintaining momentum in the transformative agenda. Another landmark achievement for Africa in 2025 with the successful hosting of the G20 summit by South Africa. South Africa made history as the first African nation to preside over the G20 summit. The summit was hosted in Johannesburg under the theme Solidarity, Equality, Sustainability. The summit marked a turning point in global governance, coinciding with the African Union's integration as a permanent member of the G20. Leaders confronted pressing challenges from geopolitical tensions and climate change to mounting debt in the global south. The resulting Johannesburg Declaration signaled significant shift toward developing world priorities, delivering commitments on climate finance and reforms to global economic systems. Africa-specific victories were central to the summit's outcomes. The launch of Partnership for Africa Infrastructure promised multi-billion-dollar investment in transport, energy, and digital connectivity, directly addressing the continent's infrastructure gap. A new food security program was introduced to strengthen sustainable agriculture and reduce reliance on imports. Commitment to digital transformation includes expanding internet access and digital literacy programs to unlock Africa's economic potential. The communique also called for reforms in global financial institutions to amplify Africa's voice in decision-making. Together, these milestones reflect Africa's rising leadership in shaping global justice, sustainability, and development, positioning the continent as a central actor in the evolving international order. The other significant event of the year was the second Africa Climate Summit, which was held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The summit was conducted under the theme Accelerating Global Climate Solutions, Financing for Africa's Resilient and Green Development. It was convened by the African Union Commission and hosted by Ethiopia. The summit brought together head of states, ministers, diplomats, and international partners with a clear call to move beyond rhetoric and position Africa not as a victim of climate change, but as a driving force in shaping the next global climate economy. In his keynote address, Ethiopian Prime Minister Dr. Abiy Ahmed urged the world to rethink Africa's role, emphasizing the continent's assets rather than its deficits. He highlighted Ethiopia's achievement, including the Green Legacy Initiative, which has planted more than 48 billion trees in 7 years, the Climate Resilient Wheat Initiative, and the commissioning of Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, which generates more than 5,000 megawatts of renewable energy. Kenya's President William Samoei Ruto praised Ethiopia for building on the momentum. He reiterated Africa's vision of climate action as an opportunity for growth and transformation. He cited progress in green infrastructure, climate-smart agriculture, and renewable energy. However, he cautioned that no nation can tackle the crisis alone, stressing that only bold, united, and sustained collaboration can avert catastrophe. The summit underscored Africa's determination to lead in climate solutions, turning challenges into opportunities and ensuring the continent's voice shapes the global climate agenda. The year 2025 has also been defined by Africa's growing interest and strong commitment to digital innovation and creativity. Africa is making bold strides in the field of artificial intelligence. Global AI Summit was hosted in Rwanda, marking a turning point for the continent's digital future. The summit, which drew more than 1,000 participants from 95 countries. The gathering included policymakers, entrepreneurs, researchers, investors, and representatives of over 100 AI companies. By 2030, AI is projected to add $19.9 trillion to the global economy, with Africa expected to capture $2.9 trillion of that growth. Experts say this could lift 11 million Africans out of poverty and create 500,000 jobs annually, which will position the continent as a key player in the global AI ecosystem. Speaking at the summit, Rwandan President Paul Kagame emphasized Africa's immense potential for innovation and creativity, urging leaders to take proactive steps to harness artificial intelligence benefit. Kagame noted that AI is already revolutionizing industries by improving productivity, enhancing decision-making, and reducing human error, but cautioned that Africa risks being left behind if it doesn't adapt, cooperate, and compete in AI development. The year 2025 underscored Africa's persistent challenge in peace and security. Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, continued to grapple with grave crises. According to the United Nations, the resurgence of the M23 armed group in eastern DRC has led to immense human sufferings, mass displacement, and fears of a broader regional war. The humanitarian toll has been catastrophic. Thousands have been killed, while hundreds of thousands have fled their homes. Civilians face acute shortage of food, water, and medical care. The United Nations has documented forced recruitment, looting of displacement sites, and violent search of the hospitals and homes by M23 fighters. The group has long been accused of war crimes and sanctioned by the United Nations for grave violations of international law. The African Union has repeatedly emphasized that the crisis in the Democratic Republic of Congo threatens regional stability, urging member states to strengthen collective security mechanisms. The crisis is further compounded by the militarization of mining sites in eastern DRC, a region rich in minerals critical to global industries. This has raised international alarm about the intersection of conflict and resource exploitation. The United States intensified its diplomatic engagement in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So far, Washington played a central role in brokering dialogue between Kinshasa and Kigali, pressing Rwanda to withdraw support for the M23 armed group and urging both sides to commit to peace talks. The United States effort achieved partial success. Its mediation helped secure a temporary ceasefire agreement and open channel for regional dialogue. However, the situation remains fragile, with sporadic clashes continuing and humanitarian needs still acute. Both the African Union and the United Nations stressed that long-term peace requires political solution at the regional level. The United Nations Security Council has called on Rwanda to cease support for M23 and withdraw its forces. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has urged both Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to remain engaged in peace talks. Diplomatic efforts continue, but the situation remains volatile. The year 2025 witnessed a series of coups and undemocratic change of government. This underscores the continent's ongoing struggle with political stability. Military takeovers in Madagascar and Guinea-Bissau, alongside an attempted coup in Benin, revealed the fragility of democratic institutions across diverse regions. According to the African Union, these events form part of a troubling pattern. In 2025, the African Union maintained suspensions on Burkina Faso, Guinea, Mali, Niger, and Sudan, all of which had experienced coups or unconstitutional change of government. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres emphasized that democratic erosion undermines Africa's progress toward achieving sustainable development goals, particularly in governance, peace, and justice. As 2025 draws to a close, the continent stands at crossroads. The new wave of coups has tested Africa's commitment to democracy, but the strong condemnation from the African Union, United Nations, and civil societies signals a determination to reverse the trend. Whether these efforts succeed will depend on the willingness of African leaders to uphold constitutional order and the ability of regional institutions to enforce accountability. That was Africa in 2025. The old year has ended and the new year 2026 begins. We extend our wish for a happy new year filled with hopes and success. Until we meet again, goodbye to you all.